All right, good morning. Welcome to the Joint Conference Committee on Senate File 61, Legislator Per Diem. I think all of the members of the conference committee are here. I guess, Mr. Chairman, as you know, came from the House side was a Section 2 amendment that gave legislators options to participate or not participate in the raise and elect up. I think the Senate's position is that doesn't belong in the bill. Any of my Senate colleagues want to weigh in on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I think when you have language in here, it might create incentives for people to want to not be excluded, and so it might provide some undue influence on how an individual were to vote. That's my first concern. My second concern is anytime you read our statutes, they should be written in a way that has longevity, that's not written to a specific legislature, and this is clearly written to a specific legislative session to specific legislators, and I think it's inappropriate. So with that, I would stand by our chairman and say we believe this language should be removed. Legislators still have the option of waiving per diem without having it being tied to their vote or receiving half-day per diem. That's all still available if memory serves.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to echo that sentiment, it's the undue influence that's a big issue in my mind. I believe that the influence that that section creates is not necessary and should be stricken. So I hope we will do that.
Thank you, Thank you, Senator Pappas. Mr. Chairman, anything from your side?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, had a long, vigorous debate on this issue like we've had over the last several years, and mileage components, Cheyenne legislators, all those things. And I think, as Senator Ellis said, you can opt out at any time. And I think there was, I don't want to speak for the bringer of the amendment, he's here, but I think there was a little bit, I'll speak for the feel of the floor of the House and the speakers here. I think there was just a little bit of like, okay, we're over this now. I mean, we're going to vote for this or we're not. And I think, but I totally agree with what Senator Ellis said. I mean, I for one, I think we're certainly ready to concede to the Senate position, but I think we're at that point in the debate. You've been there where, okay, we've got to that point and there we are. So, but anyway, so I appreciate all the comments of the senators and I think we're with you on this.
Speaker Summers or Representative Yin?
Well, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I totally agree. I fought against this amendment on the floor. I like a nice, clean bill. We've struggled a long time to increase per diem. I think it's critically important. And I'm doing this on the mic because if there is any public out there, I think it's critically important that legislators be compensated for, at the very least, for their meals and their lodging. And it's high time we did this. Otherwise, we're not going to have any normal, I guess, any average citizens in the legislature. Just people cannot afford it. So I'm in support of taking it back to the original version.
Representative Yin, is your amendment? Certainly. Give you the last word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It does appear that I am outvoted, but I do understand the feeling of both the Senate and from fellow House members. The intent essentially was to save a little bit of money up front while we kind of gradually go into the per diem. And I do think that the per diem is really extremely important to make sure that we're not actually costing us money while participating in the legislature. So I do think this bill is extremely important, and I'm willing to receive the House position. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Please, Senator Ellis, and then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since this is, for the record, I think it's also important for the public to realize that a lot of our boards and commissions tie their reimbursement for travel to the legislative per diem. So when we ask the citizens of Wyoming to serve on boards and commission travel, they're limited by that $109 amount as well. And so, we're just wanting to adequately compensate people for their travel and their time. The other part of this is if we did away with per diem, then we'd have to hire more staff and do actual reimbursements, keep track of every receipt. And I can tell you in other organizations I'm involved with, that's a substantial undertaking. You have to hire staff to make sure you're doing that correctly. So this is, per diem is in lieu of that, and we just want to, we're not trying to overcompensate people, we're just trying to allow them their travel costs.
Very well, thank you. Senator Pappas?
That was exactly the same point I was going to make. We do have other folks that it affects, not just legislators. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Co-Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, and I'll just echo again what has been said. There's over 500 boards and commissions that are tied to this, and these are all volunteers across the state of Wyoming, and we have to have citizens serve on the Board of Parole, all the various boards and commissions, so it's really important. So that's a bigger deal actually than the legislators, but thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so let's be clear, there's boards and commissions that have up to 500 or 500 people on those various boards and commissions. We don't have 500 boards and commissions. Just want to be clear, I want clear about that. We have not grown government. So anyway, so I guess, so the motion would be to receive, to withdraw the House Amendment, third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 61. Do I have a motion for that? Moved by Ellis, seconded by Speaker Summers. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. The conference committee report is signed. Thank you very much, colleagues from the House. Appreciate you. It might not be the last time we see this type of an amendment.